Hello friends, let us talk about commercialization of agriculture today, okay? And its relationship with railways. Now remember, when we are looking into commercialization of agriculture and its relationship with railways, we'll have to look at it in two perspectives, okay? The first being the perspective of extraneous factors, and then the internal factors. The extraneous factors and the internal factors, they collide in order to make this development, the commercialization of agriculture in India possible, okay? And this commercialization of agriculture is of course taking place during the British rule, okay? So let us look and let us appraise the extraneous factors first. Remember, the very important point about extraneous factor is the rise of industrialization in Britain. And what does industrialization give birth to? Industrialization gives birth to new classes. What are the new classes? The new classes are the class of the middle class and also the class of the proletariat. How does it affect the market policy of the British Empire in India? Because the new classes now demand the new classes assume a new consumption pattern, and they demand new products for consumption, and these products are based upon raw materials, certain raw materials. And what are those raw materials? Tea, sugar, cotton, opium. Although opium has a different set of factors attached to it, and there's of course jute, okay? So these are, in a nutshell, these are the most important raw materials attached to the development of commercialization of agriculture. Tea and sugar, something which the middle classes, something which lower classes had not been able to afford. Now the middle classes can newly afford tea and sugar. Also they need clothing, therefore cotton, okay? And there is indigo too, to stain the cotton. We need coloring for the cotton, of course, and indigo provides the staining element or the dyeing element, so indigo too, okay? And then jute for various purposes. Also opium has a different angle altogether. How? Because of the opium trade with China. Britain had this entire setup of the opium trade with China. It was a revenue generating mechanism. Also it helped in exerting British control over China. It has an entire story behind it, which we are limited in scope in this video to explain, but suffice it to say, opium was important for the opium trade with China. But then of course the other raw materials needed for consumption by the new classes which have emerged in Britain due to industrialization. Industrialization also gives rise to machine production. And just as the new classes need to be fed, machines also needs to be fed. And how are you feeding the machines? With these raw materials. And what are the machines letting out? That is finished goods. So this is an entire circle, okay? New classes, new demands, machines feed in the raw materials. The raw materials come out as finished goods, then again goes down into goes into the market for the new classes. And also there is the creation of a market in India too, because Indian finished products made out of cotton, okay, such as the handicraft industry, Indian finished products are being pushed out of the Indian markets, and finished products are being brought in from Britain into India, okay? Therefore this entire need for an agriculture based on these products, okay? And these products, these raw materials are dealt primarily in cash. Okay, you cannot eat tea, you cannot eat sugar for sustenance. These are for cultivated for the purpose of cash. Okay, for the purpose of revenue. Okay, for the purpose of remittance. Hence investment. Okay, now as we have already talked about revenue and investment, remittance, let us look into the internal factors. Internal factor being that Britain and British administration in India, the British administration in India is changing in pattern. From mercantilism, it is going forward towards a remittance based economy. It will again proceed forward into a finance based economy, okay, finance capitalism. So all of these factors are transforming agricultural sector in India, okay, transforming the agricultural sector in India from a sustenance and from a revenue generating sector to a remittance and cash generating sector, and this sector is directly connected to the demands of the British mainland, to the demands of the British metropolitan classes, okay. So therefore these external and internal factors, they collide together to create a new cash crop based system of agriculture, that is the commercialization of agriculture. Now what is this new system of agriculture? What is its function? Its function is based upon the production of capital. Its function is based upon the production of cash, okay. What does it not produce? It does not produce sustenance. Now farmers are producing for cash, they are not producing for sustenance. Therefore whenever the market collapses, the need for sustenance rises, okay, because the farmer, through commercialization of agriculture, through the inclusion of foreign investment, okay, through the inclusion of foreign investment, they are now being tied to the worldwide market. Now the peasants are not farming in isolation, they are not farming just for sustenance, but they are farming for the market, they are tied to the international market. Therefore any fluctuation in the international market results in a fluctuation in the internal market of India, okay, and also results in the need for sustenance, because the sustenance crops such as rice, paddy, okay, these are being pushed out by market favoring crops, okay, by cash crops. What does it produce? It produces also a dependence upon the middleman, okay. How do the middlemen come into the scene? Somebody has to sell the goods to the market, okay, somebody has to create a link between the peasants and the market. The middlemen come into play in that category, okay, in that gap that needs to be filled. And the dealings of the middleman is not fair always, because at the time of harvest, if you need to sell your crops, okay, you have to go through the middleman, and the middleman will exact any amount that he wishes, and the middleman will give you the deal which he wishes upon, okay, because you are an Indian farmer and you are already cash strapped. You are already cash strapped, and on top of that you have cash debt, okay. In order to fulfill these requirements, you are willing to sell off your produce in any rate that the middleman proposes, and therefore you get into this vicious circle of exploitation all over again. The plantation economy, the cash crop based economy, it again tried to subjugate and again try to bring down this entire class of peasantry, which have already been trying their hard to sustain themselves and now are being subjected to a market which is foreign to them, all right. And what is the connection of the railways with all of this? Remember, the railways, although a sign of modernity, is also a sign of domination. How? because the railways in India were not built with the purpose of industrializing India, or railways in India were not built with the purpose of developing capital development in India. The railways in India were developed upon the idea of extraction of resources. Railways link the ports. The ports are linked with the metropolitan British economy. Therefore, the railways in India, the coming of railways in India, okay, it was not meant as I have told you, it was not meant to industrialize or capitalize India, it was meant to exploit India, and therefore you will find a very scathing critique of railways in India in Mahatma Gandhi's Hind Swaraj. Mahatma Gandhi's critique of railways in Hind Swaraj might come as a paradox, because he himself favored travelling by the railways to go to the various corners of our country, but still he criticizes the railways, and this is actually the factor because of which railways come under criticism, because the railways link the ports, and the ports link India and Indian raw material and Indian goods to the foreign manufacturers, which in turn are linked to the Indian market and the foreign markets, okay, and therefore the railways in India. So this is the relationship of the railways with the commercialization of agriculture in India, okay. So it is fairly clear, okay, commercialization of agriculture and its relationship with the railways in India. And remember also that this entire setup produces some disturbing events in the history of India, such as the Indigo Rebellion. (1859-60). It also produces something which is devastating, something which has been devastating in the history of India, that is the Great Bengal famines during the Second World War, okay. The Great Bengal famines during the Second World War, preceding the World War, and then again after the World War. So these are directly, the commercialization of agriculture is directly linked to the Indigo Rebellion, to the Bengal famines. This entire plantation Raj that came into effect after the commercialization of agriculture in India, this resulted in wide scale, repudiation of the peasantry in India, okay. The British economic attitude had never been beneficial towards the peasantry, although some can claim by looking into the various settlement policies, British settlement policies, that they were trying to do away with zamindari, they were trying to do away with the exploitative classes, but of course they themselves represent one of the greatest exploitative classes that the peasantry had seen in India. After having made such critique of the British administration, we should also give due to modern scholars who have said that it is very difficult. However, having talked about commercialization of agriculture, it is very difficult to ascertain the real effect that commercialization of agriculture had upon the peasantry, because the peasantry in some way, it is said, colluded, okay, in this endeavor. The peasantry in some way colluded in this endeavor. The peasantry also wanted to generate cash for themselves, and also wanted to generate also wanted to produce cash crops so that they can supplement their income. But at the same time, what kind of effect commercialization of agriculture really had, the extent of the effect that it really had is an uncertain estimate, okay. But these two events provide us with at least sufficient amount of material to criticize the institution of commercialization of agriculture in India. With that, I believe commercialization of agriculture is quite adequately dealt with, and with that I hope that you will be studying hard, and I hope you do good. With that, I take your